Hey there, so for today's tutorial, I am dragging a pattern out of the vault that I have not ever done, but I got as part of the Bag of the Month Club back in October 2023 when I signed up for it for the first time. So I've had this pattern in my arsenal for 2 years, almost 2 years. I haven't had it done, I haven't made it yet, and I don't know why. Anyhow, so today we are going to be doing the Quiver Sling from Country Cow Designs. They were asked to do a Bag of the Month pattern for October of 2023. It is rated as a beginner. Now, disclosure, yesterday I spent the day recording this tutorial and something happened that it just only recorded in sections. So I'm hoping I have the problem fixed and we're going to be doing a new one. But this bag comes in a large and it comes in a small. And I did the two bags side by side yesterday. This is what the Quiver Sling from Country Cow Designs looks like. This is the large. So this is the one I did yesterday for the tutorial. And then look at this little cutie patootie. This is the small. Look at the size difference, eh? So I made, so this bag, there's really nothing inside it. It has this great flap, the large on the front, that my Samsung S23 Ultra, it's a large phone, will fit in. Lots of room with a magnetic snap closure on the flap. It has this really, really cool back D-ring connector panel to give strength to the back of the bag, and your strap is connected to the top. So that is really cool. And it has a simple zipper gusset. Now, I only put one zipper on my bags. The bag calls for the two. You know how you have the two at the top and they both go down either side? I find that anybody who has one of those bags with two zippers, they always leave the one down here and only use the one to go back and forth. So in my bags, I only put in one zipper. And the interior, there isn't anything. There isn't a slip pocket or a zipper pocket on the interior. And it's lots of room, so you can put a water bottle in the large, a large wallet, your phone, of course, at the front, or anything like that. The little baby is more for if you're just doing a grab and go. Like my phone will fit in here. It fits in quite nicely, and it'll with lots of room that you can put some like a poop bag, dog poop bag, or anything like that. But isn't that just the cutest? My phone won't fit in here, so I'm not sure exactly what you would put into the front slip pocket on this bag. But this is the little one is just so adorable. I really think it is. And this is the large and the small. But today we're going to do the large because I already did these yesterday in the tutorial that didn't happen. Because I'm still new to recording, I'm still new to my tutorials, and I'm getting there. But today we're going to do the large, and I am doing it in beige, Mora faux leather from Emmeline Bags. The interior, because that has a manly kind of look to it, the faux suedes that I use, the dark brown and the navy. So I figured I'll give a lighter version of a semi-manly bag, but the interior I'm going to use the same as what I did on the other bags. This is this cute little hedgehog cotton from Emmeline Bags. I got this about a year ago. It was on sale, but isn't that cute? Look at the little hedgehogs making a little design. So that's going to be the interior lining. My hardware is antique brass. My zipper tape is a tan zipper tape with the antique brass zipper teeth. Now, I get my zipper tape from Amazon.ca because I'm in Canada, so I always get mine from .ca. And I get my zipper by the yard from Amazon. I get 10 yards, and it comes with about 15 or 20 of these zipper pulls. And I like the size of this zipper pull because everybody, I'll move my coffee, everybody who I make bags for wants a large zipper pull, a substantial one, so that they can grab onto, that they can see, they can grab onto. So I don't buy any cute, really nice looking zipper pulls anymore. I get these kind that come with the zipper by the yard from Amazon. And of course it matches the zipper teeth. And also, like my mom is an example, she has a lot of neuropathy in her fingers and her hands, so she has a hard time grabbing onto things. So this is a great size zipper pull for anybody who has difficulty grabbing onto anything. So that's the hardware. And then the interfacing that I have used is the woven interfacing from Emmeline Bags. This is the EB Fuse Heavy interfacing, iron-on interfacing from Emmeline Bags. It's very, very structured. I think it's been equivalent to maybe Decaville Light or SF 101. I'm not sure. I don't use those. I just use this. If I need something a little bit more substantial, I'll cut 2 pieces and double up on it. And boy, when this is fused onto your fabrics and that, it really, really creates a nice structure. This is a bound bag. So I will be using a black grosgrain ribbon is what I'm going to be using for the binding on this bag. And that just makes it easier because the grosgrain ribbon, it's a 1 inch wide and each edge is finished. So get your pattern, join me to sew the Quiver Sling from Country Cow Design. So I'm back, and as I am apt to do, I forgot to introduce myself. So hi, I'm Teresa from Tree60 Handmade Bags. If you're a subscriber, thank you so much for coming back. And if you're new to the channel, consider hanging out with us and me and watch the tutorials that I post on bag making. On the bottom right corner of your screen, you'll see a little red subscribe button. Click that, subscribe, and make sure that your little bell notification is set to get all notifications, not just the highlights. All right, infomercial is done. So the pieces that you are going to be needing for the first step, we're going to be working on our flap, and you will need your magnetic snap. So you have a male and female portion of your magnetic snap. We're going to be working with the male portion first. You're going to need your piece C, which is your flap, exterior, and lining. So with mine, I'm making it all out of the beige Mora faux leather. I have already interfaced it with the Emmeline EB Fuse Heavy on both sides. It only says one, but I'm doing both sides because I do like a structured, flap, something that has a little bit of stability to it. I've already marked my mark for when I'm going to be installing the male portion of the magnetic snap. So that's piece C, which is your flap. You're going to be needing also a piece A, one of your main interior linings. You're going to need piece B, which is the front trim pocket for the front trim, and I have all my pieces already interfaced. Now, one of the things about interfacing is I have a Jack industrial sewing machine walking foot, so I know that my machine will go through it. This pattern is also written for domestic machines like your Brother or Singer or Vintage Kenmore, like I have somewhere in the background behind my chair, which I used to do all my bag making until I got a really, really good deal just after Christmas on my Jack industrial walking foot. So interfacing, I make my, the pattern piece says cut 1 exterior and 1 woven interfacing. Well, I cut the interfacing the size of the actual piece because I know that my Jack will go through it. If you're on a domestic machine and you're not and you're concerned about the thickness of the seams, make sure that you cut your interfacing pieces 3/8 of an inch smaller on all sides. 3/8 of an inch is the seam allowance. So just make sure that you cut your interfacing out of the seam allowance so that when you're sewing, it's not getting in there too and adding more bulk to your seams. So that's piece B, the exterior fabric. Then we're going to need piece D, which is the large front pocket, or well, it's large because I'm doing the large. And yeah, so there's the front pocket. Now I have clipped, today I'm going to do one of my sew-in bag tags. I have my metal ones, but if I want to kind of keep it manly-ish, I'm going to sew in one of my faux leather bag tags, which I got from the Spotted Zebra on Etsy, and Thera is in Alberta. So the Spotted Zebra, you can get some really nice faux leather, or cork, I believe she has as well, sew-in bag tags. This is my old logo. I have redesigned my logo a bazillion times. Sorry, I'll cover the pattern, the measurements. And anyways, I have had many generations of my logo. So this is one of the old ones. My metal bag tags that I had made from Alibaba are the old one. And when I run out of all of them, I will have new ones made with my newest logo, and hopefully it's the logo. And then the last piece that you're going to be needing is piece E, which is the slip pocket back. And of course, everything I'm doing in the beige Mora faux leather with that tan zipper as an accent. Oh, and the thread that I'm also using up on my spool holder is a dark chocolate brown. It's Gutermann upholstery outdoor thread. It's a heavy duty thread. This has a really nice sheen to it. And it's a really, really nice heavy duty weight of thread to be using if your machine can accommodate it. All right, so the first piece that we're going to be working with is the flap piece. And what we're going to be doing is we are going to be, if I can separate them, we're going to be putting right sides together and clipping them. Move that out of the way so I don't lose it. And hopefully I have ironed on my interfacing so that they all line up. I'm just feeling. We're going to clip them together, right sides together. Yep, oh, I lined it up pretty good. And we're going to stitch all the way around from the top, all the way down and around, right up against that interfacing and all the way up to the top. In order to get around the curves and to have to get the stitching better, to get around the curves, shorten your stitch length. I'm going to shorten mine to a 2, and we'll see how that works. So we're going to do that right now. I'm going to take my flip-flops off. Okay. And I'm just going right up alongside that interfacing, and I go slow. I'm not a very fast sewist. And if you have to hand crank your wheel around the curves, then that gives you also more control. I do that too. It just makes it easier to get around the curves so that you don't miss getting up against that interfacing. It's slow, I know. And I apologize in the background, but we have a golf course. We have some bush behind us, but we also have a golf course that there's some machinery going first thing in the morning. And I love sewing first thing in the morning because it's so cool. Typically we don't have, where I live, we don't have our air conditioning on in the summertime. Last week, I think we had it on for 2 weeks straight because of the heat wave that we had, and well over 100% humidity, if that's even possible. But our house is covered by 100-foot maple trees, and we're in the shade all the time. So it's not often that I have the air conditioning on in here, and I have my windows open all the time. But once the sun comes swinging around this side of the house, because you can see my windows, once the sun comes swinging around, it gets pretty hot as it barrels right in to my face here. It's great in the wintertime. All right, we're almost there because I'm talking and hand cranking. Yeah, so the golf course, they've got their equipment going in the morning, of course, as usual. So keep moving my coffee. All right, so I have stitched around the interfacing, and now I'm going to make my slit marks for the magnetic snap, and it's the male portion that I want. And we'll put the female portion aside. So of course it's the male portion. I don't have to explain why it's male. And you need your washer. So one of the things that I do is I use, because the magnetic snaps get a lot of pulling. Some people just whip it open and some people are very careful about it. But what I do is I make sure that I have it reinforced with duct tape, or in this case it's Gorilla Tape. And I just cut 2 small squares, and I take my stylus because I want to make sure that I have this centered over top of this dot here. So I just take my stylus and poke it into the center of my duct tape, and then stick the stylus on the dot. And then I line it up, and then that gives me a dot. That gives me a mark here to also line up the washer of my magnetic snap. And I'll line up the center hole with that dot on my duct tape. And then I'll make my slit marks. Just like that. And then I'm going to take my seam ripper. I put everything into this, where is my seam ripper? Oh, I've moved everything into here and now I can't find anything. I do that all the time. I put things away and now I can't find them. All right, give me a sec. Found it right in front of my eyes, typically. All right, so I'm going to just stick my hand on the inside of the flap, and I'm just going to take my seam ripper and very carefully, so that I don't poke through to the other side or poke my hand in there, I'm going to make little slits. All right, now we're not doing anything with this yet. What we're going to do is I'm going to take my pinking shears, excuse me, and I'm just going to cut all around that stitching and making sure that I don't cut anywhere into the stitching. But the pinking shears will help with the curves when we turn it in outside right. Okay, so now we are going to turn it. We'll make sure that that male snap will be put in. So we're going to turn it right sides out. If when you have made your slits for your magnetic snap placement, and you have a fraying material like a cotton or a canvas or whatever, use Fray Check. This is Drit's Fray Check. I got, this is unscented, which is perfect for me. I have a scent allergy. So use the Fray Check on the slits that you have made. I don't have to worry about it here too much for the, with the faux leather. So I'm just going to take my little turning tool. This is the Purple Fang. And on one end it has like a paddle. And on the other end, it has a curve poking, which is great for corners. But I'm just going to take the flat end and just push against my seams on the inside to make sure that they're all flat and that the curve has come out quite nice. And that turns really nice. Then I'm going to make sure that the right side is up. I'm just going to clip it, because then we're going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch seam allowance all around the edge. One thing about, these are Wonder Clips, or they're a Wonder Clip knockoff that I got from Amazon. The one thing to be careful with these clips is, first of all, they break. They wear out really, really fast, and they can break and go flying in your face. But on the inside, there's like little teeth. I don't know if you can see them. You can just see them sticking up. And there's teeth on both sides. If you leave these clipped to vinyl or faux leather for any length of time, the marks could stay in it. So you just have to be careful with that. Ask me how I know, because that happened to me. I thought, oh, I'm going to be smart. I had to glue some pieces together, and I thought that I would clip them, let them sit for, an hour or whatever for the glue to set. Came back, and the impression of these teeth set into the vinyl or faux leather I was using, so I had those marks. All right, so now we're just going to do a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, or top stitch. Oh, I'm going to increase my stitch length too. I'm going to increase it back to 3.5. And we're just, so we're just doing a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, or top stitching. And go very slow around those curves. Hand crank if you have to. I'm always doing that just to be on the safe side. Just turn it as you go around the curves, ever so slightly. Okay, so there you have the front portion of your flap already top stitched. So now we're going to take the underside of the flap where I have my little slits for my male portion of my magnetic snap, and I'm going to put that on, fit that in there. Now, I may have, so it might be a little difficult. We wanted to top stitch first before putting on the magnetic snap, because, and this happens because the bed of your sewing machine might be metal, and these will, because they're magnetic, they'll get stuck onto the bed of your sewing machine, and that will make a mess of your top stitching. Okay, so I put the male portion on. I'm going to take some tweezers and take the, just because I can't get my hand in there, and I'm just going to take the washer and I'm going to fit it over top of those prongs, like that. And then I'm going to, on the inside, I'm going to push the prongs out. Some people push them in towards each other. I find that adds more bulk to the bag, so I push them down. Now, you can probably see that they're not sitting level. So all I do is I just push it, I just take one side, push it up against my desk to flatten them on the inside. And now I'm going to take my last piece of duct tape. I'm going to use my tweezers just to get in there. And I'm going to put it over top of the prongs and the washer of the male portion of the magnetic snap, so that when there's any rubbing or any friction, it doesn't wear its way through to the good side. All right, so we're just going to lay that down inside to cover all those prongs. All right. There you have it. So your flap is done. And then we can sew across the top just to baste it at a 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just to baste it closed. And I'm just going to take my lighter, excuse me, I'm just going to take my lighter and I'm just going to burn off all these little ends of my thread. That's the beauty of using the polyester thread, is when you burn the ends of your thread, it helps to seal it, and then there's no fraying or anything like that. All right, so our flap is now done, and we'll move on to the next step. Alrighty, so now we are going to need our finished flap piece, and then piece E, which is your slip pocket back. So these are the two pieces that we need now. And I have marked the center just by folding it in half at the top, meeting the corners, and making a little notch with my scissors on the top of that, as well as on the top of my flap. And we're going to lay the flap down on top of the pocket, sorry, the slip pocket back. And we're going to lay it on top of that, matching your centers so that we have our pieces centered together. We're going to clip those on, and then we're just going to sew at 1/8 inch seam allowance just to baste them on. Make sure that it's even. Okay. Okay, so there you have it, just like that. Now we're just going to put that aside for a second, and we are going to take piece D, your front pocket, and on the bottom edge, you're going to mark a 1/2 inch up from the bottom and mark a line. And then you're going to fold the top down to that line. Course, and then fold it. Mine's the faux leather, and then of course we're going to fold it and make sure that the sides match. I'm going to clip it, and then I'm going to top stitch 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. What's so nice and quiet with that machinery stopped. It's nice and peaceful. And just snip so there we have it. I top stitched at the top. We have the bottom just meeting, or the top of it meeting the bottom, that line, 1/2 inch line, and then I'll be back. All right, so this is not mentioned in the pattern, but this is where I want to put my bag tag. So whether I do my metal bag tag with the prongs and put it on like I did with the magnetic snap pieces, or I'm going to sew in my faux leather bag tag from the Spotted Zebra in Alberta. And I put some double-sided tape on the back. And what I want to do is I'm just going to fold this bottom that has, you know, that we've folded it to the 1/2 inch line. I'm just going to meet the corners because I just want to mark my centers. And I'm going to grab my 6-inch ruler, my 6-inch wide ruler. And I'm just going to line up, I'm just going to kind of I do a lot of eyeballing. I guess that goes back to my school secretary days when we used to have typewriters and we learned how to center things from the center and work your way out. Not done anymore. The computers and keyboards and that all do it themselves. So I'm going to kind of put it in this area, my tag in this area here. So I'm going to take the 6-inch mark on my ruler and I'm going to line that up with my notched out corner. And I'm just going to go up, I think, maybe about 3 inches from the bottom. And then I'm just folding my tag just to get a mark. And I'm just going to line that up at the 6-inch. Stick it down. Make sure it looks level. Sometimes it doesn't. Double-sided tape is great because you can lift and move. Okay, so there I have it taped down. I think it looks straight. Maybe not. Okay, so I'm going to stitch that on all around the edge, just on the inside of the edge, but I have to make sure I'm not stitching all the way through to both sides. So I have to lift that back portion up, and I am going to, and then we're going to tie. We're not cutting or doing any forward and back to secure it. I'm going to be pulling my threads to the back, and I'll show you how that's done. So I just line up so I keep my threads long, and I'm just going to stitch along the outer edge. Now, when you get to the corners, if you've had a problem with skipped stitches, so that when you put the needle down, you pivot to the next corner, and then you wind up with the stitch cutting across the corner, kitty corner, when you get your needle down at the on the last stitch before you pivot to turn it, make sure that your needle is on the upswing up, and that'll help catch the thread from underneath. Turn and pivot, and then keep sewing, and then I will be. I'm going to turn, so I'm going to make sure that the needle is on the upswing. Okay, so now what I have here is my tails are sticking out. So I want to pull these to the back so that they're not in the way. So I'm going to take the back thread, the underneath thread, I'm going to give it a bit of a tug. There is a loop that forms underneath from the top thread. You just take your something pointy, stick it in there and pull it. So now your top and bottom thread are both in behind. Now what I do is, to make sure that these are the threads that are together, I kind of just take them and because I've been very confused with which ones have I already pulled to the back and which ones I haven't. So I tie these two in a knot so they're together, and I know that I've already done them. And I'm just going to continue on sewing my tag in. Make sure those threads are out of the way. I got a squeak in my machine. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. Okay, so I am getting to where I started my stitching on my tag, and I'm going to just finish off the last stitching where the first stitch started. And I'm just going to pull my threads, hang on to them, hang on to the thread you just cut. I flip it over. You can already see the threads that I have already pulled back, and you can see that little knot sort of there. And then I'm still hanging on to the ones I just pulled. I'm going to pull up on the thread. You can see that loop. I'm going to grab the loop with my jack the seam ripper, pull it through, and then grab those two together. And then what I do is I just give a little bit of a tug because the thread is fairly strong. And I'm just going to give it a bit of a tug. And then I tie a couple of knots. So when I tie my knots, I do a double knot in each hole just for security. Don't ask me why. I just do it. So I'm very, so that I don't have any issue with anything unraveling. Then you snip off your tails. You're left with this nice, lovely looking knot. Take your lighter and double-sided tape are your best friend. And I just light it and then just seal it down. And there you have it. I have my bag tag already sewn, and we'll get to the next step. Alrighty, so now we have the front pocket, and I have sewn my bag tag on, not through to the other side, and we have, of course, our flap and the back. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to put this part of the pocket onto the back piece, and of course, it'll sit underneath your flap. But I've marked my centers on both pieces. And when you line them up, when you line up the centers, you're going to see that the top pocket is wider than the actual back. So you can see right here that it's wider here and that it's wider here. It's also wider here and here, this by 1/8 of an inch. So what we want to do is we want to mark the front pocket. We want to mark it on the underside 1/8 of an inch, an 1/8 of an inch mark here. And then we're going to line up your ruler at the top here and then move it in towards angle it in towards where the 1/8 inch mark is. And then we're going to cut that side off so that what you're going to have is then your bottoms will meet. They will both be the same size, but your top is still going to be sitting 1/8 of an inch wider than the back piece. And there's a reason for that. It's so that when you line up that edge and you line up this edge, you're going to have the front part kind of pooching out a little bit to give you room for a phone or anything else that you put in there. So what I'm going to do is right now, I'm going to mark the back of this with 1/8 of an inch. If I can get my ruler against me. Good grief. All right, that's 1/4. And then I'm just going to go over here and I'm going to use my my cutting mat and my rotary blade, and I'm just going to cut along that mark to make the bottom part the right size. Line up that top corner with that 1/8 inch mark. I have to stand. And then do it on the other side. So what you have is you've got the bottom part a little narrower than the top. Just like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to clip the bottom together just to make sure it's all lined up. And now your corners on your bottom will match. Okay, so I've just pinned the bottom right now. And what you want to do is put your flap over top of your pocket. Make sure everything is even. Make sure that the overhang, you'll see it here, that the overhang here is equal to the overhang here, so that you want to make sure that that is centered, because then we're going to take the male portion of the snap, and then we're going to make a mark on our fabric for where we're going to install the female portion. So I just want to make sure that that's all lined up and that it's even. Okay, so there's two ways you can do it. So you can take your where the magnetic snap is, the male, and you can push down onto it so that it might leave an indentation on your fabric. Now, I can't see it on here. It's very difficult. So this is what I do. You're never going to see this after everything's completed. I take a marker. I take the male portion and I just put a dot in the center of the male portion. And then I just kind of put it down and just push it onto the material. And there I have my little magic dot. Alrighty, so it looks like we are going to be putting the female portion of the snap on, but I want to check and I'll be back. All right, so now we are going to install the female portion of the tab, the magnetic snap. So I'm just going to grab my, because I still need some more duct tape. A couple squares. Okay, so what I want is to take my stylus or your seam ripper, whatever's pointy, and I'm just going to poke that into where I made that dot. Poke it through to the other side of the first layer. Don't go through this back layer. Excuse me. And I'm just going to take my, this is my handy dandy landmarking tutorial of how to find your centers for your snaps. All right, and I'm just going to put the duct tape down there. So now I have the hole that I can use to line up the center of my magnetic snap and make the marks for the female portion of my magnetic snap. Make sure that your slit marks are going up and down. And then I'm just going to take my seam ripper and make the slits. Okay, so now I'm just going to take the female portion of the magnetic snap and put it through from the right side to the back into those slits that I just made. Okay. And then I'm just going to take the washer, put it over top of those prongs. Splay them out like a butterfly, like that. And then I just push down against each prong on my desk just to flatten them. And then I'll take the duct tape and I'll put it over top of those prongs and that washer. And now we have our female portion of the magnetic snap installed. So what we're going to do is now we're going to sew this onto this and make our front pocket panel. So basically your magnetic snaps will now click together quite nicely. And I'm going to make sure that that's centered up there. Okay, so I'm just going to clip the bottom. Make sure that the bottom is centered. Now this is where it becomes interesting because we have that extra little overhang. I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm just going to make sure with my ruler that I have the right distance on each side. 3/4 of an inch. Yep, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that this top part was level. So what we're going to do now is just along this line here and here, I'm just going to make a little mark so that I know, and it'll be within the seam allowance, so that I know that it's that's where I keep this, make sure that this pocket stays lined up. So there, I've just made a little, there it is there, a little pencil mark. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take the overhang and we're going to line that up with the edge of your back piece and clip it into place. Line up this side as well. Might want to move the flap onto the just to the inside for now, so it doesn't get in the way. And then I'm going to line up the other side and clip it into place. And then we're going to follow, because don't forget this top part is 1/8 of an inch wider than the bottom part. And then we're just going to line up the edges. If you need a lot of clips, use a lot of clips. Make sure that I have that all lined up. Yeah, these type of wonder clips work great in this instance because then it holds everything together really good, like a little clamp. Okay, so there we have it. And as you can see, it pooches out, gives it a little bit of a pouch, so that gives you room, because your cell phones aren't flat. They've got a bit of about 1/2 inch kind of depth to them, or whatever else you put in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start from the top, and I'm just going to base this on, and I'm going to start from the top on one side, and I'm going to go all the way down to this side. And then I'm going to go and start at the top of this side so that I'm going in the same direction and all the way down to the bottom. And then I'm going to sew across the bottom. Making sure that I keep those corners exactly where I want them to be. So I'm definitely going to be doing a starting and stopping to make sure those corners stay down. And I'm just doing 1/8 of an inch seam allowance just to base it on, making sure that my edges line up. Sure that that corner stays put. Probably could have used some double-sided tape on that corner just to make sure it stayed on. But the important thing is just to make sure that it stays, you know, that it's lined up with your edges. And then I have the bottom to do, and then we'll see what our next step is. Okay, there you have it. And we can pull the flap out now, and it sticks on there quite nicely. And there is our front panel, front pocket panel, lots of room. Mind you, it's not sewn up all the way with the seam allowance on either side, but there's lots of room for my phone in here and for the flap to go down as well. So that's a great thing to have. And we will see what the next step is. Alrighty, so the next step is we're going to take pattern piece B, the front top trim, and we're just going to lay it right side together with the top right side of your pocket. So, and then we're just going to clip it together. We're going to sew it at a 3/8 inch seam allowance, and then we're going to flip it and top stitch it. All right. And you're sewing your flap on at this point in time. My thread broke. There we go. I really like using this Gutermann outdoor upholstery thread. It's UV protected as well because it's used for upholstery for outdoors. All right, so we've sewn that flap on right sides together. Now we're going to flip it up, pull it forward, and then we're going to sew an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance for top stitching. The chocolate brown thread really looks nice on this Mora faux leather as well. Now, Country Cow Designs, like I get my, in Canada, I get my Mora from Emmeline Bags, but Country Cow Designs has a lot of wonderful fabrics, and they do Mora faux leather as well. This is a beautiful, beautiful faux leather to work with. It feels like, almost like calf skin. A lot of people think it's suede. They think it's real. When they look at it, they think it's real leather. It's just so, and it's so nice to work with. All right, so there you have your whole front panel with your pocket. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take the lining piece, one of the lining piece, piece A. We're going to put them wrong sides together. And then I'm going to clip that. And then we're going to baste around. Just making sure my corners meet. I guess when I look at it, I could have put my bag tag a little lower, but like I said, I eyeball a lot of things. Yeah, I mean, I probably could have come down a bit more to center it more between here and here, but who else is going to know but me, right? Or notice. Okay, just clip all that together. I hear Murphy outside. I have my door closed, or else he will come in here and try to play, try to get up on my lap. And then Frankie will come in and she'll get in the way. I have been sewing here and she comes and looks out her window and she has her fluffy tail swishing back and forth. She's almost had, while I'm sewing, she's almost got her tail caught many times in this while I'm sewing. That wouldn't have been a nice thing to happen. All right, now I've got them all clipped. Probably wind up having to trim some edges, but that's okay. That'll all happen when we bind. Okay, I'm just going to baste all of this together at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I have to find out why I have that squeak that I get sometimes I thought it was because I wasn't changing my needle as often as I should have been, because then it seemed to stop. But my brother's a millwright, and he teaches the machine shop course at Canadian Forces Base Borden, where I grew up as an Army brat. And they use industrial sewing machines. They use Jukies there. So he'll come over. He said he'd come over at some point in time and take a look at my machine and try and find out where the squeak is. I've oiled the daylights out of it, but I don't know. Sometimes it's there and sometimes it isn't. There we go, Murphy's Law. My bobbin ran out. That always happens. But I have one already ready to go. Okay, not that I have to worry about finishing that top stitching, but okay, there we have it. We have our front pocket done and our inside lining, and I'll be back with the next step. Alrighty, so the next step is we are going to be working on the back panel. So what you need are your 2 D-ring tabs, your 2 D-rings, your webbing for your strap. I'm using a 1.5 inch cotton webbing. The only unfortunate thing, I got this from Temu, the only unfortunate thing is it frays, but it also picks up everything. And then you need your piece A, you need your exterior and your lining piece. And then you'll need your piece I1, which is your strap panel. I've interfaced only one side of it and not the other. So there are 2 exterior pieces. And then your piece L1, which is the foam that goes inside your your strap pad to give it a little bit more comfort and stability. And this is the I got this, it's from by Annie. It's just a sew-in foam. There's no way to fuse it or anything like that. You can just insert it or sew it. So what we're going to work on right at the moment is our D-ring tabs. So I have already put double-sided 1/8 inch double-sided tape down each side. You could mark a line down the center, but I put a strip just to give it a little bit more oomph because this Mora faux leather is a little pliable. And I just put a strip, a 1/2 inch strip of the EB heavy woven down the center. So all I'm going to do is take the strap, take the 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape backing off, and I'm going to fold each edge in towards the center. And that will be, I mean, you can judge. You don't have to do the line. And I'll fold it in towards the center. Like I said, I do a lot of eyeballing. And then we're going to sew up each side of the D-ring tab with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And I just do like, a chain sewing where I kind of attach the pieces and then cut the threads off after. saves a lot of pulling threads and cutting. Okay, so now I'll just trim all those threads in between, and then my connecting threads. Okay, just take your lighter, oops, and just take a flame to those ends of those unruly threads at the end. Just helps to seal them. And then take your D-ring, there's your right side, and there's your wrong side because you can see the edges meeting. Take your D-ring and feed it in through so that the bottom flat edge is on the wrong side. And then I'm just going to clip them for both of them. And then I'm just going to baste the edges, the ends closed. Cut all my unruly threads. Okay. I appreciate you bag makers, seasoned bag makers that are already here. Thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure you know all these steps, but there could be people here that don't know how to do some of these things, like put in a magnetic snap or all these different things, because that's where I was 2.5 years ago. I didn't know anything about bag making, and this is how I started, was watching YouTube tutorials. And that's how I got my start into bag making. All right, so we now have our 2 D-ring connectors all made and ready to go, and then I'll see what the next step is. Okay, so the next piece that we're going to be working on is piece I1, which is your strap pad. So I have one piece already interfaced with Emmeline's EB Fuse Heavy, and then the other one I don't have interfacing. So I'm going to put this one aside for the moment, and we're going to work on this one. So right now you're going to take your strap, and I'm going to, even though it's cotton, I'm going to take my lighter to the end to melt these edges, just to help stop them from fraying somewhat. All right, and then we're going to take, now I don't have a right or a wrong side to my webbing. I'm going to lay it centered on either side and make sure that it's straight so that it's centered from this side to this side and about 1 inch overhang. And the reason why it's 1 inch overhang is so that it gives a little bit more strength when it's sewn into the bag, because if you sewed it right along the edge, it can fray and it can come out. All right, so we're just going to base that on at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I just want to make sure on this side that I have it centered. Okay. Just clip that on, and then I will sew that on. Okay, so that has been basted on just to the top edge of your strap forgetting the piece names, your strap pad. All right, so now what we're going to do is on the bottom part, there is a measurement in the pattern where you're going to measure up, and then you're going to line up your the bottom edge of your D-ring connector to that line. You're going to have your D-rings facing inward, and you're going to have it overhanging about 1/2 inch on the underside. So let me just check to see what that measurement is, and I'll just take my pencil and measure that just within the seam allowance. I'll just mark my fabric, but it's, you know, you're not going to see it. It's just within the seam allowance. Pencil doesn't want to work. Okay, so I'm going to take some double-sided tape, just a little piece, just to help stick it on. Oops. Because these can shift when you're going over it with your presser foot. So I'm going to line it up. I have my marks marked there. I'm going to line up the bottom edge of the D-ring. Oh, it has to be facing in. I'm going to line the bottom of that with that line and overhang it about 1/2 inch, and I'm going to do that on both sides. And then I'll check my measurement just to make sure that it's even, that there's the same amount of overhang on both sides. So I'm just measuring from the folded edge where the D-ring connector is. Okay, and I'm just going to base those on right now at 1/8 inch seam allowance. Watch when you're going over that D-ring connector, it doesn't shift, and you may need your hump jumper. So here's a confession. I don't have any luck using a hump jumper. Don't ask me why. But what I wind up doing is with my knee lift under here, I have figured out that I can move my knee lift slightly up to help me hand crank over those bulky seams, and to get down, go up the one side and down the other side without having to use a hump jumper. Because I never seem to get how the hump jumper works. I don't know. Just one of those things, but I figured it out of how I can make it work. I use my knee lift quite a bit. That does come in handy to be kind of a handy little hump jumper kind of thing. For me anyways, it works. Okay, so there we have our strap connected, centered to the top with, well, a little bit more than 1 inch overhang, and our D-ring connectors facing inward and basted on there, and I'll be back with the next step. Okay, so we're going to take the other piece of your back strap. We have the one already done with the webbing attached and the D-rings attached, and that was the piece that I had already interfaced. This piece I did not interface, and what you're going to do is in the pattern, there's a measurement of creating this box, this rectangle. Make sure if you're doing the large bag, you follow the measurements for the large, and if you're doing the small, you follow the measurements for the small. So you create your box, and then all around the outside, you make your marks for your 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this box out at the moment. That's going to be your turning hole. You will never see it. It will be sewn flat up against the back of your bag. So I'm just going to take it and clip it. The Necessary Clutch wallet has something similar with their panel, with their massive racetrack shaped panel, where you cut a hole in the back for turning and you never see it. Okay, so there we have it. We have the rectangle right there for the turning hole, and we have our 3/8 of an inch in seam allowance all marked around the outer edge, and I'll be back. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this panel that we have completed, and we're going to put right sides together with the panel with the hole, and we're going to clip it together. Excuse me. Make sure that you use this hole to pull your strap out so it doesn't get caught underneath. All right, so we're just going to clip all the way around, and I'm not a fast clipper. And then what we're going to be doing is we're going to be following that 3/8 of an inch seam allowance line all the way around to sew this all together. The strapping's weighing me down. But there's a little trick at the top where your webbing is. It's so nice hearing the birds outside. I don't know if you can hear them or not. I sure can. Sure beats listening to golf course machinery. Like I said, we have bush in behind us that the community, the retirement community I live in, owns a portion of it. The Ministry of Natural Resources owns a piece of it, and then the golf course owns the other side. And it's an 18-hole golf course. But anyhow, the animals use the bush, this bush behind us, as a walkthrough. So we get a lot of pretty cool critters. When I had my, I put seed out in the spring for my bird feeders, because we have deer back here. In the wintertime, there's about 3 deer that live back here and come at night to sleep. And they like, and I put feed out during the wintertime. I put bird seed out. They love the bird seed. But in the spring, when they're still looking for food, if I don't put bird seed out, my hostas, because that's all I can grow here, we're constantly in the shade. I'm not a gardener. Hostas are great. They come up every year. I don't kill them. When they start coming up, the shoots come up. If I don't have bird seed out in the spring for the deer to eat, they will eat all the new shoots coming up of my hostas. And then that's it. I don't have any hostas for the year, but we have so many critters. We have, I call them a herd of Canada geese. They live out in the bush with their young ones. They nest back there. Then they all come through like a massive herd in between the houses here. There's like about 20, 25 babies with many adults that they all take care of, taking care of the babies all together. And then they go through, because across the street, the other part of our street has a pond, and they all go into the pond. And it's so cool seeing the wildlife here. All right, I digress. So when I have this all clipped, then you're going to sew all the way around at the 3/8 inch seam allowance. However, when you get up to your the webbing, it may be, your webbing may line up a little on the inside. Mine seems to be right at that line, but you don't want to sew into your webbing. So when you come up this way, you might want to veer off just slightly so that you're not catching your webbing in your stitching, and then sew across the top here. So that's what we're going to do. We're just going to sew across. We're going to sew all around the this panel at the 3/8 inch seam allowance. I knew I was doing something wrong. I measured wrong for my D-ring placement. Oh well, it'll work. Okay, that's not going to work. All right, I'll be back. Okay, I fixed my mistake. I was looking at the wrong measurement for the D-ring connectors, and I put them too low, so they were going to be in the way of the stitching here. So now we are going to stitch around that 3/8 of an inch seam allowance to join our connectors, or our back pieces. Webbing out of the way. It weighs you down. Okay, I'm just coming up to where that strap is at the top here. So I'm just feeling with my fingers, and I will just go in on the side of it that's not going to be hitting it. Just hand crank it. Oh, there goes Murphy. Okay, then I'm going to go across the top. Now I'm going to stitch that forward and back a couple of times just to be on the safe side. And hand crank down, because then that'll hit the other side of that strap. Okay, move on down. Murphy probably saw a squirrel. He's the cutest little guy, I'll tell you, but boy, does he bark. He is a barker. Okay, so there we have everything stitched. I had to move up my D-ring connectors up because I had measured wrong. And now what we're going to do is we're just going to take our scissors and we're just going to clip these corners to reduce some of the bulk. Make sure you don't clip into your webbing or the stitching. But that helps to reduce some of the bulk for when you turn it. And we don't want to trim those D-ring connectors off, because like this overhang of the webbing strap, this will also create some stability. So now what we're going to do is we're going to turn it outside right. Get my purple fang to help with the turning tool. Take your D-ring connectors and you can just give them a little slight tug, which helps pull out those corners as well. The strap will help pull this out. The reason why I didn't interface this one side is because when I made the other bags yesterday, when I did the original tutorial that didn't turn out, it was just too thick. It was too thick for the turning of this. So just having the one, the one side interfaced is perfect. makes turning it a lot easier. So I just pull gently on my strap to pull that out. So, oh, there we go. Oh, I did catch a bit of that strap in the stitching. That's okay. And I'll just take my lighter to that to make sure it doesn't fray. That's okay, no worries. All right, so I'm just going to take my turning tool. I also have an old knitting needle with a busted end. Actually, I broke the tip when I was turning something for a bag that I was working on. I'm just going to pull that D-ring out a little bit more. Sometimes these corners just don't want to poke out. There. As long as you don't go through the stitching. I did that yesterday on the bag, the little one. And I had to quickly do some first aid on the corner to sew it, to get it to sit down properly. I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim some of this. I'm going to turn this end back inside out. And I'm going to trim some of that seam allowance away to help with the bulk in these corners because they are thick. Especially right here. So I'm just going to trim down here at the bottom. Try and trim some more of that off that. And in here. Kind of just scoop into there. Okay, let's see if that helps a little. This is going to be a little thick here anyway. Just do the best that you can. Grab those D-ring connectors again to help pull it out. There, that's sitting a little better now that I can stick my knitting needle up there and kind of shove the seams into the corners. Get my purple thing. Very careful. I just poked that purple thing through, but it's on the underside so it won't be seen. I can feel the sun coming around here now. It's going to be coming through these windows soon and it's going to be hot. I have my door closed so the airflow isn't the greatest. Okay. Now we're going to poke out the top end here. Pull on that strap a bit and poke that out as gently as possible. These corners are bulky and you might need a mallet to pound them down or a flat plier kind of thing. What I have is I've just got this thing. I think I got it at the dollar store. I think it's a jewelry clamper, but it has a flat edge, so it's not going to hurt your fabric. And I'm just going to take it for these bulky corners and I just kind of flatten it. It just helps to flatten the corners. I'm looking, I can see my back door here, and Frankie is looking at me through the screen. She wants in her room. I just noticed her. She's a black tortie, and she's hard to see at times, and I've stepped on her and tripped over her many times. She's just so dark. Oh, I hear her. She wants in here. And anyhow, she has, yeah, I just saw her now poking through the screen door. Okay, so I'm just flattening these corners, which does help a lot. Does take a bit of time. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're now going to take our piece L1. So this is your foam. Now she's howling because she wants in. Oh, but first I have to take these seams and kind of just flatten them out a little bit, make sure that they're coming out. So what we're going to do is we're going to fit the foam into this hole, and I always have it so that it lines up so that when this is all folded over, it sits underneath the seam, and that'll also help get it under your the overhang of your strap, as well as the D-rings. So let's see if we can get it in there. It takes a little bit. This I think is going to be easier than the one I did yesterday. So I'm just going to fit the bottom end in, get that settled in first underneath the D-ring connectors. Just take my knitting needle and it'll help push it. So it's basically sitting under the seam allowance, or right up against the seam allowance, and that'll fit in quite nicely. Get it right into that corner. Okay, and then we push the top part up, hold the bottom end, push the top end in. Make sure it's not buckled underneath. Beautiful. Okay, there it is sitting inside, and I'll be right back. Okay, so now what we are going to do is we're going to clip all of this together. So because we're going to be top stitching, and the top stitching that we're going to be doing when it's all clipped together is going to be 1/4 of an inch top stitch. And there is a reason for that, because when this gets sewn onto the back panel of the bag, it'll be sewn on with 1/8 of an inch. So you'll have like a nice double row of stitching. So I'm just going to clip all of this together, and then I'm going to do my 1/4 of an inch top stitch, and I'll be back. All right, so now we're going to take the remaining back exterior panel A with the interior panel A. We're just going to put the interior lining aside for the moment. So now what we are going to do is we are going to attach our back strap panel onto the exterior back. Now what I did was I pulled the strings, my threads to the back, so that I didn't see any back stitching on the exterior at all. And I have also put 1/4 inch double-sided tape on just to help this stick, because it's faux leather. I don't want to use pins to pin it on, and painter's tape doesn't really do a good job for holding anything. So in the pattern, there is a measurement to measure up from the bottom and into the center to mark a mark there. You're going to mark the center of your bottom of your strap, and then from when that's affixed on to here, there is a measurement to measure from the top down to here, and that's where we're going to sew across. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the double-sided tape off. I had to put my fan on. It's getting warm in here. I think it's only supposed to go up to 25 Celsius, which is pretty decent. It's certainly not like it was last week when it was like 35 Celsius. So basically Celsius into Fahrenheit if you double it. So 35 Celsius, if you double it, is 70. Add 32 is 70 plus 30, that's 102. That's the approximate way to figure it out if you're wanting to know. A little bit of math for you. I'm just going to take some of this double-sided tape off that's showing. Okay, so I am going to line up the center mark that I made here just with my pencil, and I'm going to line it up with the center mark there and make sure that the bottom is straight. and that it looks centered, and then I'm going to center it at the top. That's the beauty of double-sided tape. It holds everything down so that if you have to move it, then you can. So I'm just going to do a measurement just to make sure that that's center. And that can come over just a little bit. Just slightly. Okay. So what I'm now going to do is I am going to sew all around 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, because the first stitching we did was 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to go across this line that I made. There it is there, very faintly in pencil. That was a certain measurement from the top to this line. I just want to confirm that I measured correctly, because at times I can't seem to measure right. Yep, I did it. Yay! And that looks pretty centered on the back here. Okay, I'm just going to stitch that on with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, and I'm going to make sure that I keep my tails long so that I can stitch it, turn them, pull them from the back. And this will go over our D-ring connectors at the same time. And because it's a hump, I'm using my knee lift to help me get over that hump, like a pretend hump jumper. Just hand crank. Okay, I should be able to go from there. Okay, I'm coming up to that line, where I'm going to stitch across. It's hard to see. You just go straight across. Okay, and on the home stretch. Just going to pull those tails for where I started off first to the back. Should have done that before where I could see them easier. Oop. Pulled the wrong one. Oh, now I can see better. Just tie those so I know which ones are which. Okay. Oh, I still hear Frankie meowing. She still wants in. Okay, and I'm just going to finish up in that last stitch. Pull my threads long. Tie off my threads so that you don't see any back stitching on the right side of the panel. Oops. Okay, Now, one of the things I am going to do is, so there it is, all top stitched on. I'm going to go over one more set of stitching up here just to kind of match the double stitching, but also to give it a little bit more reinforcement. And I'll definitely be tying my threads as also. The strap is in my way. Just to give it a little bit more reinforcement. It doesn't call for that in the pattern, but I just thought, you know, I just want to have that secure. Now I might even put a rivet after it's been done. I might even put a rivet in it. Oops, almost lost that. Okay, I will flip and now I'll pull my threads. The recording I'm doing today, I'm trying it without my microphone that I tried to use yesterday, and it didn't work out. So I'm hoping the volume is good for the audio of the video of this video. Okay, so I'm just going to take the lighter to those ends. All right, and I'll be right back with the next step. Okay, so this is what we have so far. And what we're now going to do is we're going to take our back lining panel, which is piece A, and we're going to put wrong sides together with the wrong sides of this panel, and we're going to clip it. And then we're just going to baste it on. I've said before in my other videos that I'm not the greatest cutter. I don't know that I would make a great quilter because I think you have to be pretty precise as a quilter for how you cut your pieces, and they have to be fairly accurate. And I can see right now that my pieces are not accurate. So I'll be doing some trimming afterwards. That's okay. All right, so right now we have this all pinned on. I'm going to baste it on with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. When I do come to this point, I'm going to fold this forward and so that I can baste across there so this does not get caught in the stitching. Make sure if your D-rings are in the way that you pull them out of the way so they don't get caught. Okay, so I'm coming up to that top part. I'm going to fold my strap connector back so it doesn't get sewn into that top section or basted into that top section. Oh, and I have a little bit of double-sided tape here that I don't want in the way, so I'm just going to peel that back. That's the beauty of double-sided tape. If there's something, if there's a piece that you see, you can always pull it off, throw it out. Okay, so I'm just going to trim up my edges because, like I said, I'm not the neatest cutter. And just trim them up. have a fan on in here now. It was starting to get warm. So now I've got the fan blowing all my little pieces of fabric all around that I'm trimming off here. All right, so this is what we have now. We now have our finished back panel, and we now have our finished front pocket panel, and we are going to be working on the zipper and the gusset, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, so now we're going to be working on the zipper gusset and the base gusset. So you will need your zipper. That is the length is specified in the pattern for the large. I've already marked my centers on the zipper. You're going to need your piece F, which is the zip gusset, and it has 2 lining pieces and 2 exterior pieces. I have marked all the centers on all these pieces. And then you're going to need your piece G, which is the base gusset. It has 1 lining and 1 exterior, and all my centers have been marked on these pieces. I'm just going to put piece G aside for now, and we're going to work on the zipper gusset. So you're going to take one of your exterior pieces, and I use double-sided tape for this step. So you have one of your exterior pieces right side up, put your 1/8 inch double-sided tape all down I just do it on the top edge. And you're also going to need your zipper pull, but we aren't going to use that at the moment. Once we've built our zipper gusset, then we will put our zipper pull on. So I have the 1/8 inch double-sided tape down the top edge on the right side of my exterior piece of the zipper gusset. I'm going to take one of my lining pieces. I'm going to take my zipper, and I'm going to put that face down, so zipper teeth down, so that's the right side of your zipper. And I'm going to put it on the right side, together with the right side of my exterior piece, and line it up on the top edge alongside that double-sided tape. My zipper tape will extend past the length of these pieces because I always cut extra, and that's okay because it's going to be sewn into the gusset. And like the strap connector at the top that got sewn in, it will just add a little bit more strength. I might trim them down a bit, but we'll see. Okay, so you have your exterior piece and your zipper tape right sides together. I'm going to put another piece of double-sided tape just along that top edge of the 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on the wrong side of the zipper because that's facing up right now. I get my double-sided tape. I get my 1/8 inch from Amazon, and I can get large rolls with that, and I find that inexpensive. And I get my 1/4 of an inch double-sided tape from the Dollar Tree. It's $1.25 for a roll. I stock up when I go there. I stock up and get 25 or 30 rolls at a time because I go through it so much. Alrighty, so then the next step is you're going to take the right side of your lining and you're going to put it down against the wrong side. I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Yeah, against the top of that zipper tape, which is wrong side up, the zipper tape, and your lining will be right side down. And just line that all up on the edge so that when you open it, everything will line up. So then I don't want to lose my zipper pull. So I'm just going to sew that at a 1/4 of an inch inseam because I use the edge of my presser foot. I never switch over to a zipper foot. The zipper foot that came with my jack, I just don't like it. And you know what? It's a pain to constantly change your foot out. So I use the edge of my presser foot a lot for lining things up. So that's what I'm just going to do right now. Just make sure my stitch length, and I'm just going to go, and the edge of the presser foot pushes right up against the teeth on the zipper tape. So it creates a good seam allowance. Make sure that you stop and start at the beginning and the end. Clip your okay, so then I'm just going to take the lining and I'm just going to push it forward. Just finger press it and then flip over and then just push the exterior forward. So now what you have is you have your lining and then your exterior and then your zipper teeth are up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to clip these edges together, line them up, pull your exterior and your lining away from your zipper tape so that you don't have any bunching. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is then I'm just, as I take these two edges of the exterior and the lining and wrong sides together and I kind of line them up and I pull them at the same time and then clip. This combination of the beige Mora with the tan zipper tape looks really, really good together, and with the chocolate brown thread. So what we'll be doing is we will be basting the, I'll show you in a second, just have one more clip to put on. Okay, so what we're going to be doing, we have it all clipped and we're going to be basting the side, the bottom, and the other side, and we're going to be top stitching along this edge, all at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. So I'll start at the one side. Everything's 1/8. And then down the other side. And then baste the bottom. Okay, so there we have the one side all done, and then I'm going to just repeat. So I'm just going to take the other side, the other piece of my zipper exterior gusset. I'll put 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape along the top edge. Okay, now with this part of the zipper that's going to go onto here, you want to make sure that it's your right side of the zipper gusset down, goes right side together on top of this exterior. So your zipper teeth will be down and it'll be right sides together. And we'll just line that up. Okay, and then we'll put another line of double-sided 1/8 inch tape along the top edge, which is on the wrong side of the zipper now. doesn't want to come off. That's the worst, sometimes the hardest part of the double-sided tape is sometimes it doesn't want to come off. Okay, and then I'm going to take my lining, meet the centers with this. So the lining side will go right side down and it'll be on top of this lining. So the right sides will be together, being taped onto the back part of the zipper. And we're creating a zipper sandwich. And then we'll sew that at a 1/4 of an inch in seam allowance, which will just be right butt up against my zipper teeth. I haven't seen very many tutorials on this Quiver Sling, so this will be a new one added to the arsenal of that. All right. Oh, I guess I cut my salvage as my lining. So, oh well, no one's going to see it. It'll be tucked up there, so it's not going to be seen. But anyways, I'm going to push that forward. It'll just add some uniqueness to the bag. And then push my exterior down, clip it all. It's easier for me to dump these clips to get them out. So when I started bag making, I have sewn since I was 12 years old, from taking, you know, well, even before that, my mom taught us how we learned to hand sew. I hated it, was never good at it. She taught us how to hand embroider. And the rule of thumb was the top part of what you were embroidering, your underside was supposed to look just as good. Mine never did. It was always a mess. And it always had knots in it. And it was just not something I was fond of doing. I realized I don't like doing anything by hand. I got my own first sewing machine in 1979 at the CNE, the Canadian National Exhibition. It was in the Better Living Center. I bought my first sewing machine and it was a white brand. And it had a built-in buttonholer. You know, you go over the top, down the side, across the bottom, and back up the other side. And it had not just zigzag, but it had what I call overcasting, which is what I wanted because I was making my clothes at the time when I was working as a secretary in downtown Toronto at Yonge and St. Clair. And I wanted to have my own clothes made because it was just too expensive to buy my clothes. So anyhow, I would make a whole outfit, a nice dress and that, but when it came to the hem, I never finished it because I hated hand sewing so much. And I didn't I didn't know how to do a blind hem or any of that stuff. We weren't taught that in home ec. We were just taught point and sew. Anyways, fast forward to 2.5 years ago when I started watching, thank God for YouTube tutorials, because I have learned so much. My sewing skills have just exponentially improved since watching the YouTube tutorials and the bag makers. And the bag maker I started watching was Barbie, who is Jeannie's Designs. And she was starting her YouTube channel at the time that I was getting into bag making. And I started following her way back then. So my sewing skills, like I said, have really improved exponentially compared to what they were, which was extremely basic. And now it's like there's so much still to learn. So what I'm doing is I'm now top stitching 1/8 of an inch across the top. Sorry, I was gabbing and I just was doing this all naturally. So I'm just top stitching across the top of this. And then I'll be basting 1/8 of an inch down the sides and the bottom. But as far as the Quiver Sling, which is what, of course, we're making, I don't know that there are very many tutorials out there. Joe and Adam from Country Cow Designs definitely have one because they did the first, they have their tutorial from when it was a Bag of the Month Club pattern back in October of 2023. But it doesn't hurt to pull, like I said, pull the pattern out of the vault and make it pretty much for the first time. Okay, so there we have it now, and we have our lining. Of course, mine was the salvage, but like I said, who's going to see that when the zipper's on the top? All right, so now we're going to put our zipper pull on to it. Make sure you remember to put your zipper pull on, because when I was doing the other tutorial yesterday that didn't turn out for the 2 quivers that I showed you at the beginning, when I was making the small one, I got everything all sewn up. I got the bottom gusset put onto here. I had it all done, and guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to put the zipper on. So I had to pull the one end all apart, unstitch everything, put it on, and then stitch it up. So like I said at the beginning of the intro, I don't put 2 zippers on that they meet in the center, only because of the fact that for myself personally, I never ever use the 2. I find it more of a pain really to be jiggling around with the 2, and other people I have noticed don't use it as well. And when I make custom bags, I ask them, do they want the double zipper to open either end, and they say no, they just want the 1 zipper. All right, so to put your zipper pull on a number 5, believe me, when I first started bag making 2.5 years ago, the first wallet I was making was the key fob wallet from Sonar. My granddaughter had asked me to make just a small, simple wallet that had 2 card slots, an ID pocket, and a place to put her cash bills, and a little zipper pocket for the coins. Oh my goodness, I'm telling you, I was using a number 3 zipper tape and a number 3 zipper pull. I couldn't get the zipper pull on for the life of me. It took me 3 hours. I'm not kidding. It took me 3 hours. A lot of swearing, a lot of crying. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm not doing this anymore. Anyways, I finally found some tutorials on YouTube, because you want to learn how to do anything, look it up on YouTube. You're going to find it. Anyhow, the one thing that I learned, I'm going to try and get in close here, is when you cut your zipper by the yard, there's always going to be one tooth that sits higher than the other. When you pull it, that's the side that you kind of want to feed the round edge of your zipper down onto, theoretically. So you pull it apart. I know there's bag makers here that know this already, but there might be somebody new, and I'm going to do this backwards. So I'm going to feed that down the side. Hold on to it, because this thing will fall. Pull it a little bit. Feed the other side up onto the other side, and it's going to sit wonky. So see how it's sitting wonky? Oh, and there are zipper jigs out there that you can just put the pull on, pull the zipper through. I just, I have a couple of them and I never use them. But you can see that the zipper pull is now sitting wonky. Your zipper tape is not straight. So what I do is I kind of just push the zipper pull. I push the teeth together to line them up a bit. I kind of lift the edge that's gone wonky, and I kind of straighten it so that you can see that your zipper pull is sitting straight. Then I push it down. You can hear it click into place. I grab the 2 ends like this and then pull it, and easy peasy. There's no bulking. You can see, yes, there's going to be a bit of a gap. That's normal, but one side of the zipper teeth is not sitting in a bulge like the other one. All right, there's your 101 zipper pull tutorial. Okay, so the next step that we're going to do is we're going to take piece G, which is your base gusset. And I have marked all of the centers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my double-sided tape, and on the edge of each of the rights of the exterior fabric, I'm just going to run an edge of the tape down there. They should be fairly even. These edges should be fairly even. They're not going to be perfect, but that's okay. Okay, so I've run double-sided tape along each edge. So I'm just going to take the edge off of one, and I'm not trimming my zipper tape. I'm just going to leave it long, and that'll get built into the gusset. So now I'm going to take the right side of my base gusset, and I'm going to put it together with the right side edge of my zipper gusset. They should actually meet. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes the edges, your zipper edge, your zipper tape gusset might be a little wider. It depends on how wide your zipper tape is. So I've put them together, and then I'm going to take the right side, or the right side of the lining, and I'm going to put a strip of double-sided tape along that top edge. Pull the backing off, and then I'm going to take the edge, the right side of the lining, and I'm going to line it up with the top edge of the lining side so that the two lining pieces are right side together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew at 3/8 of an inch seam allowance across the top here. Okay, I'm going to fold back the lining, and I'm going to fold back the exterior. I'm going to make sure that the sides line up right here where they join, just briefly, and then I'm going to top stitch across the top here, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Oops. Okay, so this is what we have so far. We've got this nice long strip. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the double-sided tape off this end, and we're going to take the right side of the exterior, and we're going to put it together with the right side of this exterior, lining up those edges. Flip it over so that your lining side is right side up. Put another strip of double-sided tape across the top edge of this edge. And then take that off. And then we're going to take the lining piece, and we're going to fold it up so that it meets the top edge of this whole sandwich. Clip it together, and you're going to have it looking pretty wonky. It looks like it won't fit, but it will. And then just hold it all together, and then do your 3/8 of an inch seam allowance across the top end there. Okay. And then we're going to kind of pull everything, twist everything the right way so that we have this nice big circle. And what we're going to do is we are going to clip. It's easier to do it when it's inside, like when it's the interior is on the inside. It's easier to stitch that way. So just take all of your edges, because we're going to be, sometimes that doesn't want to line up. Okay, I'm just going to top stitch across the top, and then I'm going to stitch, baste it all the way around this side, and then I'm going to baste all around on that side. Actually, I'm going to baste down the one side first at 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And just as you're going, I don't clip it, so but just as you're going, kind of line everything up. Oh, Murphy's outside. This Mora, if it seems a little stiff, it will, there is a bit of a stretch. It will fit everything. And I still have to, I'm going to come down this side, and then I'm going to top stitch that one end. Oops, get under there. I'm not a fast sewer, like I've said before, but I do like these long runs where I can just let her go. All right, one more stitch in to do my top stitching across that edge. Okay, so there we have it. We have our zipper gusset and our base gusset all sewn together into a circle. So what we want to do is we want to take these two seams on both sides, line them up as best as we can, push them up to the top here, and your center should meet where we've already cut the notches. But down below, if you haven't cut your notches, and they should meet as well. All right, give me a sec and we'll do the next step. All right, so as I've shown before, we now have our back panel all completely done with the lining and the exterior, and we have the front panel, exterior and lining, and with our flap. And now we have the zipper gusset and base all created. So what we're going to be doing now is we're going to work on putting this onto the front and back panel. It's a little different than what you may be used to. It's actually a kind of a unique installation. So what we're going to be doing is I'm going to do it on the right side of each of my panels, because you can see it better than on the back side. So what we have to do on all four corners on both panels is we take, and I'm going to use my gel pen, my white gel pen, if I can find it. Sorry for the banging around my stuff. Before I rearranged my sewing room, because there is a sewing room 2.0 tour video out there from when I originally did my first sewing room tour. Check out the 2.0 video, because it'll be linked to this tutorial as well. It has a couple of innovations that I've kind of done with my chair and a few other things, but I always work predominantly over here before I started videotaping my YouTube tutorials. And I had so much space and everything was hanging on my pegboard. Now I have to put everything here because this is now my workspace. Anyhow, I digress. Okay, so what we're going to do on each corner is we're going to mark a little 3/8 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch square in each corner. So I'm going to hopefully you'll be able to see it. Let me make sure I get this right. Okay, so all right, so 3/8 of an inch by 3/8 of an inch little square. You're going to mark each corner with that. I hope my gel pen is working. Yep. Just mark every single corner for both panels. All right, so just like this, I have my squares marked on all four corners. I'm going to repeat and do that on the front panel, and then I'm going to cut these little squares out, and I'll be back. Okay, so there you have it. We have the corners cut out on every single corner on the front and on the back as well. So we're going to take the back and we're going to put it aside for the moment. Now we're going to work on the bottom of the front panel with the bottom gusset. But before you do that, make sure that we're going to turn the gusset inside out so that the wrong side, or the inside, is showing up first. When you take the right side of your front panel and put it down on top of that, make sure you see inside which way the zipper is going, and this right now this is pulling to the left, or if you have it turned over, then it's pulling to the right. Decide which way you want your zipper to go. Typically the bag makers always have it so that the zipper is being closed to the left. It just all depends on you. I like the zipper, honestly, for me, closing to the right, because I wear my bag, the strap on my left shoulder, and the bag is here, and then the zipper is closer to me instead of me having to reach around. So it just all depends on which way you want it. So if I decide that I want this bag to close to the right, then I'm going to orient it this way. I'm just going to make sure that the top will line up and the bottom. So I'm going to take the bottom edge, the right side of my bottom edge, with the right side of the gusset edge, and we're going to line those up with the side with the notches facing you so you can see what you're doing. And we're going to clip them. It's getting a little thick on this edge now. So this is where, if you have a domestic sewing machine, you want to make sure that your interfacing is out of the seam allowance when you do that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to sew our 3/8 inch seam allowance from this cut corner to this cut corner only. Making sure that we stop and start at the start and the beginning and the end. So we're just going to stitch from that corner. Get it in there. And then that'll be our 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Oops, hold on. I have my flip-flops on. I have to take them off. Oops. Okay. Okay, Oh, Frankie came in. I have my door open. I had to get some air in here. Okay, so this is what we have so far. What we're going to do is we are going to take our scissors and we're going to cut down that side of the bottom front panel just right up into the corner, and we're going to do that on both sides. Don't snip any further. This will help to have you go around the curves. Get your tail out of the way. I'm going to cut it. She's decided she's going to come in. Your tail is dirty, Missy. All right, cut through all that. Okay, and then we're going to do exactly the same with the top front panel. I'm just going to clip that, actually clip it from the front panel side so I can see what I'm doing and where I'm going to be sewing. We're getting there. Okay, I'm going to sew my 3/8 of an inch seam allowance from that corner to this corner. And if Frankie gets her tail in the way, you're going to hear her. She has done that before. I almost had her tail in here while I'm sewing. Watch your tail, Missy. Okay, so we have the top. Make sure you orient your top. I had to look because it would be my luck that I would put this on upside down. Anyways, so we have the top and the bottom sewn. Now what we're going to do is and I forgot to clip this. So I've already clipped this corner and I just have to clip these ones for the top that I just sewed. Okay, now we're going to take our sides and the clipped corner will meet up with the other corner of when we made our little square notches. And we're going to clip the sides and sew them at a 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and they will meet up. It's amazing. The construction of this bag was very, very well thought out. You know, these are new techniques that I'm learning. Of course, they would have been brand new had I made the pattern back in October of 2023 when I was just pretty much starting out as a bag maker. Okay, I've got the one side clipped. If this gets a little bulky, you can always undo your zipper to give it a little, have a little bit more give. Right now, I don't need to do that. Why am I having trouble with that? Just made a little overstitch here. Oops, get back here. She only comes for a short while just to see what's going on at this end of the house. and then she disappears. She'll be back though. Okay, so I have the sides all pinned, and you can see how those corners all match up now. It's a really, really cool construction. So I'm just going to sew up the sides at the 3/8 inch inseam or seam allowance, and then I'm going to do exactly the same with the back. Well, let's just finish this together, because the back you have to do, I think, a few things with the construction, stuffing that handle in there, and all right, I'm just sewing down the sides. Okay, so we have to do the binding as well. We can't put the back on until we bind this edge first. Okay, so this is where I'm going to undo my zipper, just so that there's a little bit more flexibility coming around these edges. All right, that's one side done. And we'll do the other side. This tutorial is going so much better than the one I literally recorded yesterday on the other two quivers. And I have a feeling what my problem is with my tablet. It's a Samsung S10 FE tablet. And of course, I have everything Google, and I have my Google Photos on the tablet. And it's linked to my phone, my Samsung phone. And the Google Photos, I only have a certain amount of storage. And for some reason, I record on my camera on the tablet. And it was feeding into the Google Photos, and because I only had so much storage, it was taking up all the storage space, and it wouldn't accept anymore. So I deleted my Google Photos app off of my tablet, and everything just goes into the Samsung gallery, and everything seems to be working okay. Just keep my fingers crossed. All right, so now what we're going to do is these corners, I've sewn all the edges on, and we're just going to take these corners and we're just going to clip them off, just to get rid of some of that bulk. Don't clip your stitches. And I'm going to have corners going everywhere. And that just kind of helps to round the corners. Emmeline Bags has new faux leather out. They have this Mora faux leather, and they have the Rex faux leather, which is thinner, and it has a pebble, some kind of pebble texture sort of to it. And they just have a new one that's come out. It's called the Prairie something, and a gorgeous, gorgeous colors. And I'll have to try that out and see what that's like. Okay, so I'm just going to take my lighter, if I can find where I put it. I'm just going to take it and kind of take a lighter to these little extra threads hanging out, because I don't want them getting in the way of my binding. Of course, I have all these extra threads from the cotton. Okay, now the binding, I had it here. Where did I put it? Oh, here it is, right in front of my face. Okay, so I buy a big roll of grosgrain ribbon from Amazon, and I use that for my binding. It's just 1 inch wide. I don't use it all the time. I have black. I also have beige, and I might have another color. Because a lot of times I might make my own binding. I'll cut an 1.5 inch wide strip and make a long strip, fold it in half and over, and then do my binding that way. But I have the grosgrain ribbon and I might as well use it. It's faster. So here's my fast math of how I measure how much ribbon I need. I just go around the outer edge. I know I'm going to need 2, so I'll cut 2. And I will cut a lot of extra just because to be on the safe side. So I need 2 of these, one for the front and one for the back. But it's not very expensive on Amazon. I know I'm going to have extra here. Okay, and I'll just tape that together. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is, so I'm going to start on the side so that when you're looking down into the bag, you don't see the grosgrain, because, or actually what I'll do is I'll start at the top. You'll never see it on the top. So I fold over the end, the raw edge, and then I lay it down over top of the seam or the edge here so that it's even top from this side to this side. And I clip it on, and it covers the edge. My binding's not perfect, believe me. And go around those curves as well. Clip them into place, clip everything into place. And after it's all clipped, then I'm going to go and sew it. And I don't think I need to bore you with the rest of my clipping here, and I'll be back. Okay, so I have the front panel now attached to the zipper and base gusset, and I have the binding on as well. Now it's black binding, and I did still have the chocolate brown thread in the machine, and that's okay. You're not going to notice it. But there it is with the grosgrain ribbon, front and back. So the back panel is going to go on exactly like we did with the front panel. The only difference is, let me just gather up this webbing. It's going to get in the way. And try and find my larger, oh, here they are. Okay, my larger clips. And just kind of fold that down. Just clip this, just clip it together. It's going to be stuffed in there. Probably lose some clips on the way. All right, so that's the top part. We're going to be putting it on in exactly the same way that we did with the front part. So we're going to work on the bottom, and I'm going to turn it so that I'm looking at the back of the bag first. And we're going to line up the centers. With the bottom to the bottom, let me check to make sure that I do have the bottom the right way, the back panel the right way, and line up and clip. All right, so I'm going to sew my 3/8 of an inch seam allowance from this cut corner, might be hard to see, that corner to that corner, the same as what we did the first time around. A little more awkward because you're dealing with the whole bag now, not just the facing and the one panel. So it's a little awkward to fit in here. At least for me anyways. Okay. All right, we're going to do this 3/8 of an inch seam allowance all across the bottom. Matching those corners. Okay, keep that inside. So we have that stitched on, and it's a little harder to see this time around, so you can see where the corners are here and here. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to snip into the gusset where those right here, right along this edge and right along that edge on that side. Like I said, you've got the whole bag you're dealing with now, so it's a little awkward. Okay, and then we are going to clip the top back panel to the top of the gusset here in exactly the same way. And then I'm going to sew across the bottom here from the corner, cut corner to the cut corner with my 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. This is quite a unique construction for corners. I kind of like it. It's a little getting used to, but it works. All right, so now I've got it sewn on, and I'm just going to snip that edge and that edge. And then we're going to line up the side of the back side of the front panel, or the back panel, I mean, with the sides of the gusset. So many layers to cut through. Doesn't want to cut. All right. Now this is where I add my Made in Canada label that I get on Etsy, and I'll post that link in the description box of this bag tutorial, as well as I'll post, you know, the Emmeline bag link and also my bag tag where I get them on Etsy as well. So I kind of, I guess it doesn't matter which side, but it comes flat when the Made in Canada label that I get on Etsy. It's from a vendor in the UK, and I just put a 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on the inside, and then I fold it up, and then I put an 1/8 of an inch double-sided tape on the one side. And then what I do is I add it to the edge, so that's the top, somewhere just on the back, wherever it's going to work, and I just stick it on there. And it works with the double-sided tape. So then what I'm going to do is now we're going to sew up that side. sew up the edge, and then I'm going to add the grosgrain ribbon for the binding, and then I'll be back. All right, so I've had to close my blinds. The sun has swung around now to the side of the house, and it's getting pretty warm. So there we have it. We have the front and the back all bound. I have my Made in Canada label sewn in as well with the binding. And that turned out pretty good, better than I thought it would, because like I said, binding's kind of not my forte. There are going to be a lot of little threads inside just from this material. So now what we are going to do is the moment of truth, and we are going to turn the bag a little stiff. This is where you need muscles, and you need a lot of muscles in your thumbs, whereas my joints have arthritis in them. I've had carpal tunnel surgery done on both wrists. You know, just those lovely things as you get older, and as a secretary you wind up with these things. Okay, we're pulling that out. Oh, there's a thread sticking out. Oops. Okay, push out your corners. I'm going to work on the back panel first. Push out my seams and my binding into the back panel. This is going to be a nice bag. Maybe I'll keep this for me. I say that about all the bags that I make. Oh, this is the bag that I'm going to make for me. And I wind up putting them on my website. Oh, and speaking of my website, if you want to take a peek at it, it is www.tree60handmadebags.com. I have my current inventory on for sale on my website. I also have bag making hardware, so when you're on the main page of the website, you just keep scrolling down. The first section are the bags that I have for sale that are in my inventory, and then the next section will be the hardware that I have for sale. So if there's anything there, let me know. I still haven't got my website all figured out yet either, but I have one finally. Okay, so we're just pushing out all of the corners. Look at how nice those corners are from that construction method of cutting out those corners. And it's just a unique, I actually really like it. It was confusing at first when I first saw it. I thought, oh, that's kind of challenging. Now, in some aspects, had I done this pattern 2 years ago when I first got it, in October of 2023, I was really new at bag making. And that kind of thing would have daunted me, but their tutorial is so wonderful on Country Cow Designs. Jo does the instructions, and she does a fabulous job on giving direction on how everything is done, and then Adam was doing all the sewing. So they're quite the team. That's on my bucket list. If my husband and I were to ever travel and we would go to England, I would want to go to Country Cow Designs store in Cornwall. I would love to do that. Oh my goodness, look at this. Look at that bag. Doesn't that look amazing? Look at that. I'm loving this. Wow. Okay, now we get to work on the strap. So of course this strap is cotton, and it picks up everything. Literally, it picks up everything. But I have it. I need to use it up. All right, so what we're going to do is you need your swivel hook, which I have 1.5 inches because my webbing is 1.5 inches, and you need your tri-glide. So I have the bag face down on my work surface, and I pull my webbing. So right now it's upside down, and we're looking at the wrong side of the webbing. So I'm just going to take the webbing and loop it this way. So now I'm looking at the top side of the webbing, the right side. I'm going to take my tri-glide, so the center bar moves. I'm going to put it up into that first hole, move the center bar over against there and drop it down. So now we have it that way, okay? Oops, it's getting caught on my machine. And yes, everything is straight and it's full of thread. Just move it up a little bit. It's still right side up. I know you can't tell because it's the same, but it's, believe me, that's right side up. Then you take your swivel hook, put it so that the swivel part of it is sitting up, and feed it through. So now that's going to hang. And then what you do is with the tri-glide, so you want to keep everything straight, so it's all looking like this, okay? Then what you're going to do is, move the bag, you're going to pop up from the center bar the webbing, so you have a bit of a loop there. Then you're going to go from underneath, fit the underneath the edge under, you're going to go up into the center, go over the bar, and then come back out this end. So now you have this kind of a, all the threads. So now you have it like this. Now what, so everything is now, this is how you're going to see it on the right side, but you have to take this end and you have to secure it down. So make sure you know which side is sliding. So that's the top side that's going to slide. So this is the end that you're going to sew it onto the underside of the webbing. So I just fold it over about a, I don't know, 1/2 inch, 3/4 of an inch. And then I clip it on to that strap. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch right across here a couple of times just to secure that in place, make sure that there's no other part of the strap in the way. And I might do 2 lines of stitching just to secure it and tighten that tri-glide up a little bit better. Just do another row of stitching beside there, maybe 1/4 of an inch away from the other one, and get my threads fed properly in my machine. My machine's getting tired. I'm getting tired. Come on, get under there. All right. We're almost done. Yay! We're almost done. All right, now to trim off all this mass of threads I have here. And then we'll get the lighter to it. It's not pretty, but you're not going to see it's on the underside. So I have all these. So what I did was I did 2 rows of stitching. And I'll just take my lighter to where all these ends are, just to be on the safe side. And there you have your strap, all twisted up right now and full of thread. And you clip it onto whichever D-ring you decide it's going to go. So there it is. This is our finished Quiver Sling from Country Cow Design. Here's the front panel with our slip pocket. That's the phone. Grab my phone. So my phone will slide in there quite nicely. And the magnetic snap closure. The side gussets are here. And then the back panel. Isn't that cool? how that goes on. It looks almost, I guess with the quiver, I guess quiver is what you hold, if you're into archery, you hold your arrows into. This kind of has that kind of a look. But look at that. Okay, so we've got it going this way. Look at the structure of these corners. They're beautiful. All right, let's see how this looks on. Okay, I'm going to get up and my dress is going to be covered in thread and pieces of that lining. And I'm assuming I put the clip on the D-ring. All right, let's just turn me up a little bit so we can see. I don't want that to fall off. Okay, you're going to see my D-ring. Move you over here. Oh, you can see me in the mirror. Get a front and back view of me. Yay. Okay, so I put my strap on my left side, and that'll work, I think, for that clip. So there you go. Look at that. That's how you can wear it on the back. Isn't that really sharp? That is so cool. Or you can wear it at the front. Like I might even wear it on this side, because then you could wear it at the front as well and hang it. Or a lot of times I just grab it and I kind of just wear it like that, a shoulder bag. I really love how these turned out. So let me get the other two from yesterday. This is a very, very well-written pattern. And I'm going to put them for sale on my website. So we're going to see if they sell. And if so, then hopefully they'll be popular. And we'll be making more. Make some girly looking ones too. But so there's the ones I made yesterday. I really like how this turned out. So I did the main body in the faux suede from Temu, and then the pocket was in the navy. And then because I had more of the brown faux suede than I did the navy. And then I made the cute little baby, the mini me, and the body is navy. They are really, really cute. And now this is the one we just did today. I really love the look of these. So I don't know if I can get a picture. I'll have to try and get a picture of all of this together for when I post my video, especially when I post pictures on Country Cow Design, so that they can see these slings. Let me put this one in the center. Just trying to hold on to all of them. All right. Here are the quiver slings from Country Cow Design, made by Teresa from Tree60 Handmade Bags. So thank you everybody so much for sewing along with me. It is a long tutorial, but you know what? If we're sewing along together, why not? So here we go. And thanks a lot for hanging out with me, and we'll see you the next tutorial.